Representative Kennemer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's sort of a difficult transition, and I apologize for that, but I appreciate Representative Mauer's comments. I rise to speak about a personal matter that I think needs to be discussed publicly. It was a few weeks ago that we honored Mr. Young, the author of a religious novel that's internationally acclaimed called The Shack. And I talked about one of the concepts in there, a wonderful concept, the great sadness. It's about how traumas happen in our life, and they tend to impact us personally, and perhaps our relationships and other things. And I alluded to the reality that the campaign that I suffered last time was such a tragedy in my life, a great sadness. $610,000 were spent against me. A total of 18 hit pieces and a nasty video. 6 of these hit pieces were of a personal, maligning, false nature, including a malicious video for cable TV. Yes, they demeaned my marriage. They assailed my wife falsely, and they assailed my motives, my personal motives and actions falsely. Starting in December, I began to try to reach out to see if there was not a way to moderate this. And I was promised an attempt to negotiate or mediate twice, and as of Tuesday, that one failed again. It's painful to get a phone call from your granddaughter, and she says, "Grandma," and she's crying, she says, "Why are all the kids at school saying these terrible things about you and Grandpa?" And my wife and I are trying to have a discussion about what we should do, and she bursts into sobs and is inconsolable. Or the old lady in Fred Meyer just a few weeks ago who says, "Aren't you that politician? Yeah, you're Kennemer, the guy who gave his wife a cushy job." That's what that was about. I urge you to come over here and look at these and see what your future is about if we're going to keep letting campaigns devolve. And I thank you for your time.
Further remonstrances. Representative Schaffler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the pleasure of running against my colleague and friend over here from Canby a few years ago for county commissioner. And I was urged to go negative against him, and I thought about it. I seriously considered it. I did not. And I remember and he handed me my hat in a basket, I admit it. But I remember when I got the mailings and I saw him holding his grandchild, on that day morning, I was grateful that I did not go negative. I will stand here on this floor and tell you I raised a good amount of money in my campaign that paid for some of those pieces. I am sorry that these campaigns have sunken into the gutter, and that's where we are, and that's what got a lot of us here, either for us or against us, in spite of us. And if I ever caused any pain to his family or any of yours, I personally apologize, and I hope and I believe we can do better.
Further remonstrances. Representative Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, it takes an extreme amount of courage for you to stand up to do what you've just done, and I really appreciate that. And I wouldn't have wanted to bring this up, but it's been on my mind this entire time. I never came here to be one of 31 votes or one of 36 people. I came to be one of 60 that would move Oregon forward. And I understand that we're not going to be on the same train each and every vote. But what I'll leave with is an extreme pride that we put our veterans first, that we made bipartisan legislation happen, and that we were able to make those things happen together collectively. What I'll also keep in mind the entire time is that everybody in this room, all 60 of us, are just like one another. We have an extreme amount of pride in our community. We want to walk with the best interest in mind, with the ability to explain whatever it is we do down here. And I think it goes further than that, because what we do here is only effective if we can build relationships while we're here. Those relationships are in this room. There was a defining moment in my campaign, and I will forever stand proud to say I refused to run a TV ad. And as I told 9 people on the phone, it was me. It was my name that would ultimately be criticized for running that. We can blame everybody else out there, and we can call them puppet masters, and you know what? Unfortunately, there's folks within our own leadership that are part of that scheme. But the bottom line is, what I'm going to ask you to do is really consider how many of us were working together when somebody says, we're going to go after that guy.
You got close.
Well, that guy happens to be a friend of mine. That guy's on the other side of the aisle, but that guy's a friend of mine. I'm not going after that guy. Think about what it is that got us here and that made us successful. And at the end of the day, really, ask yourself, is it your integrity or your credibility? Because ultimately, it's a reflection of you as a campaign, not the individuals that orchestrate it. So I appreciate, again, thanks for the courage. I will look at those. Representative from Happy Valley, extreme class to step up and say that, you know, you're a part of that and to take ownership. But in the end, we as individuals ultimately are responsible for our own campaign. You are the people whose name goes out. Whether or not it has it on there, if it's a hit piece against your opponent, it comes back to you. Just try to walk with pride and leadership, and thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Further remonstrances?